So Professor Dominic Chan is currently at the CEHK at the Center of Decision Making. And so Dr. Dominic Chan, as you will hear about from his talk, is doing a lot of various things. And one of such is he founded, decides a management consulting firm, and also an investment company that, so he previously also worked in consulting like McKinsey company. And before that, he was doing his DPhil at the University of Cambridge. I believe it was in information signal processing, but it's in the field of engineering. So, Professor Dominic, please.
Right. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So can I apologize if someone has asked you already. Can I just see who are actually already doing a PhD? Okay, a few. So who are actually thinking about doing a PhD? Oh, okay, so most of you are thinking about it. Who has a PhD already? Okay, so for those who are thinking about doing a PhD, so this is the question, right? To P or not to P? That's the question. So, okay, let me tell you a little bit. So hopefully after this 25 minutes, I'll help some of you make up your mind. Meaning maybe you would decide not to do it. That's okay. You know, if you decide you want to do it or not do it, it's your choice. It's both are good choices. Okay, so a little bit of my background. Yes, I was in Cambridge for 8 years. So I started with my undergraduate, and then I did my PhD, and I worked there for 2 years. And yes, my subject is technical subject. I did engineering. So it's a good contrast. We have Professor Choi, who's in the art subject and at Oxford. By the way, I'm also a advisory board member for the Alumni Advisory Board in Cambridge from 2011 to 17. So I've been seeing a lot of statistics about Hong Kong students applying to Cambridge and so on, including some for PhD studies. And I'm also an executive committee for the Friends of Cambridge University in Hong Kong. So if you are my alumni or future alumni, do join our alumni group. Have you seen graduation photo from PhD graduation? You notice now this is the PhD gown. I just bought it this year. I mean, I had my PhD for more than 20 years, but I've never bought the PhD gown until this year, because after joining CUHK, now I do have opportunity where I need to wear a gown. You know, for the graduation and things when you just sit on stage and be a dummy, while you watch the student get a degree. So now it's worth actually buying one. It's only just under £200. And then, some graduation photos from Cambridge where we have to kneel in front of our college master. In this case, that was my college master from Trinity, and that was the vice chancellor. So when I got my PhD. So yeah, we can tell you all about the ceremony later. So yeah, you have to kneel down, and everything is conducted in Latin, which we have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, I wrote a book about Cambridge. If you are interested, it's out of print, but I still have some at home. So if you want, I can. Oh, by the way, it is in Chinese. I wanted to write it in Chinese rather than English. So it's about my life in Cambridge for 8 years. Just to sell my other book, I also, because I'm a traveler. I love traveling, and I've been to all 7 continents. And I wrote a book about traveling as a couple. So I went with my wife, and before we married, my girlfriend. Okay, I know we're just short of time, so I wasn't going to do this icebreaker. I'll show you anyway. I was going to do an icebreaker and ask you, there are 8 pictures here, and there are only 7 continents. So which continent has 2 pictures? But no, we don't have time for that. I'll tell you later. Oh, you still want to do it? Because I was told I only have half an hour. I have a lot to tell you. But if you're up for the challenge, which continent is being repeated? Good. No, actually not quite. Actually not quite. Okay, just do it quickly. We do it in 30 seconds. So Egypt, yeah, it's Middle East, but Africa, right? So that is Antarctica. Yeah, okay, top one. South America, because it's in Peru, Machu Picchu. Yeah, okay, this one, Sydney, Australia, Oceania. Yeah, this one, Paris, Europe. That one, US, Utah, so North America. This one, the Tiger Temple in Bhutan. So that's Asia. So, and this one in Mexico. And Mexico is North America. So North America has been twice. Okay. No, Mexico is technically North America. So it's in the North America Treaty, technically. Okay, anyway, that wasn't what I was going to say. So, now, just before the handover, I was in Hong Kong. I studied in Sozit, so I speak good Mandarin. And then when I went to UK, I went to a boarding school, which is called Victoria College. And then I went to Cambridge. I was at Trinity. And then I also worked in a company called Cedar. And then when I come back, the flag changed. Okay, so I was at McKinsey, I was at all these companies, and as Alex mentioned, I founded a company called Decisive. We're still running that, still running the Dark Horse, and now I'm at CUHK. So this is me in logos, representing me. Okay, so I also have a website called Legless Bird. It started with myself, and then with my wife, and then I have a young son. So now this is the new logo. So it's about traveling, about life. So if you're interested, you can go to leglessbird.com and see all my travel photos. Okay, now go to the subject. I still have 25 minutes. What is a PhD? I mean, for those who are thinking about doing it, you must know what is a PhD. In Oxford, they call it DPhil. In the rest of the world, we call it PhD. What is a PhD? Doctor of Philosophy. No, actually, it's 你讀到趴喺度. Seriously, if you could read a PhD, you 讀趴喺度. Now that's the Chinese translation. It's called 趴喺度. But then for English, it's actually called permanent head damage. Yeah, once you do the PhD, that's it. Permanent head damage. You know what permanent, right? It's not reversible. So you're damaged. So now, why I did PhD? Now, you probably can guess how old I am, but these are the cartoon or Japanese TV drama for kids that I watch. So they always have some sort of scientist. The scientists that make this superhero, the scientists that make that robot, the scientists or in the future that make Doraemon or Ding Dong. I never call it Doraemon. So I'm teaching my son that this is Ding Dong, this is not Doraemon. So, and then I watch Gundam, more science, more fantasy about science, and wow, mechanicals, and wow, these are really great times. And then Macross. Anybody have watched these? Well, Gundam or Macross, and how come you haven't watched Macross? No, you look too young to have. Okay, from YouTube and things, right? So they always have science and scientists and all these super machines. And so when I was a kid, when I watched this, I wasn't a kid anymore. I was in my high school. So, we always love to become scientists. The person who invents things, who, I imagine myself wearing a white coat, lab coat, doing something crazy. So that's why I wanted to do a PhD. I've always wanted to do a PhD. So now this is what I found on Google, and I found a lot of this, and I share with you two of them. I think it's very, very true. So this is what my friends think I was doing. This is what my parents thought I was doing. The society and my boss, meaning the PhD supervisor. They always think we are lazy, right? So and then what I thought I was doing, but this is the reality. By the way, in PhD, you always have to have some sort of breakthrough, and it's very hard, and your experiment fail, and so you're very frustrated sometimes. And then I found another one also. Okay, anyway, I won't go through this, but more or less, people think it's very glamorous to do a PhD, and or you thought that it was going to be great, and then like Superman, but in reality, you spend a few years. I mean, in my case, in the lab and, hanging out with nerds. And so that's the reality. And then you're going nowhere. Okay, so now why Cambridge? I mean, in my case, I actually have never thought of going to Cambridge. I didn't have that kind of dream. When I was a kid, you heard about Cambridge, ancient university, top university in the world. But now it's not my cup of tea. It's not for me. Well, until I went to UK for boarding school, when I went to Victoria College, Jersey. So that was a tiny island, by the way. Here, you can see Jersey. England is top there, right? So I was actually closer to France than England. It's only 1 hour away from St. Malo and Brittany. And then it's like 1 hour flight from Jersey to Heathrow or Gatwick. So it was easier to go to France. By the way, any parlez-vous français? Oh, bien, très bien, très bien. So Jersey, my friends are actually French-speaking Britain. So it's very funny, French-speaking British. No, they don't. Of course, they're bilingual. But anyway, so what I just asked was, do you speak French? Parlez-vous français? But it's very useful for those who don't speak French to learn parlez-vous anglais, because you're asking someone if they speak English. So remember that, parlez-vous anglais. Very useful when you go to France. Now, okay, and then a small island is only 80,000 at that time. It's 9 by 5 miles, so tiny compared to even to Hong Kong. I was there for 4 years. So basically, my father sent me away, locked me up in a small island. But it turned out to be a very good investment. It turned out to be a very good place. By the way, that was my principal. He was a graduate from Cambridge, from St. Catherine College. And so, why I put 3 A's better than 6 C's? I did 6 A levels. You only need 3, but I did 6. I thought, why not? And then my advisor at the college said, you should really focus on 3. Get that 3 A's. I mean, rather than 6 C's. So I said, I think I want to do 6. So I was trying to prove him wrong. In the end, fortunately, I didn't get 6 A's. I got 5 A's and a B. And the one in B, shamefully, it was in Chinese language. They test your Chinese history in English. They test, you have to do translation. If you're in UK and you do Chinese language, it is always related to English history and China's history, English and Chinese translation. And I think they also have a translation in from 文言文 to 白話文. So I got a B. Anyway, so I got quite a few ones as well. So fortunately, Cambridge only asked for 3 A's and 1. So I got in anyway. So and on top of that, I was fortunate. I actually got a prize from the Queen. So the Queen looking very young. She's 93 this year, I think. So that was, don't guess. She was very young. I was very young then, yeah. Okay. Then I went to Cambridge, yes. We didn't have this, by the way, and it's, some years later they put this. Of course, it's 徐志摩,輕輕的我走了, right? So I was at Trinity. That's the photo. So I ended up in Trinity College. Well, why I chose Trinity, I have no idea about Trinity, St. John's, Downing, Magdalen, no idea. And the only thing I knew was my physics teacher came from Trinity. He was a graduate from Trinity. I said, okay, that's it. So I didn't do any other research. So I was the president of the Chinese Society long time ago, as you can see. And that's me when I was at Cambridge. No, we were very, very influenced by郭富城銀湖 right? In 九二神雕俠侶. Yeah. So that's why I had that kind of hair, and this is all these 學生王子 look, right? And this is the back of Trinity. Very nice place. If you've ever been there, and when you go punting and you sit on the grass and relax, that's one of the best places in Cambridge to rest. Okay, now, so I did my undergraduate there, and then I was thinking about doing my PhD. And so I started talking to the other friends who are already doing PhD, and without fail, every one of them said, when I asked them, so should I do a PhD? Everyone said, 做乜咁傻啊? No, seriously, they're all very discouraging. They say, are you sure? Have you thought about it clearly? Why would you want to do a PhD? So now, also, I mentioned I worked for 2 years before I start my PhD. So I applied for PhD scholarship. I was not successful, by the way, at first, because I didn't quite work out what I want to do, and so it actually took me a few years. But because of this childhood dream, I always wanted to do a PhD, so I didn't give up. I really, really worked hard. When I was working in the company, it was actually related to the research that I was doing later. And so on the third year, I applied and I got it. But I have never worked so hard for anything, not even chasing my wife. No, that was easy. So now the trying to get the scholarship for me was one of the things that I worked so hard. And I applied to Culture Foundation. I think a lot of you probably know. By the way, Culture Foundation is very, very good and generous organization. It supports students from Hong Kong applying for PhD and fellowship, postdoc and senior fellowship for professors to go on sabbatical to do something. And it's for Hong Kong citizens. So I think most of you will qualify. If you're doing a technical subject, that's where I got my PhD funding. So tonight we will have Director David Foster. He will be here with us for the dinner. So, yeah. Now, ups and downs of PhD. There are lots and downs. Not a lot of ups, actually. Well, to start with, you must have seen this picture, right? The purple is what a primary school student knows. And then, this is a circle of knowledge. So primary, purple. Green is like secondary school. University is this pink one. And then you start extending a little bit, maybe masters. And then for PhD, you're supposed to push the frontier of knowledge just a little bit. No, don't overkill yourself. When you're a PhD student, you're not going to break through knowledge by a lot. It's not possible. All they ask for is if you can push boundary of knowledge just a little bit. I've read the memorandum from Cambridge University that we talk about what does it mean to be qualified to get your PhD is any reasonable student who spend a reasonable amount of time within the 3 years can produce something, and push the frontier of knowledge or something like that. So any reasonable student spending 3 years of time to produce a reasonable breakthrough, that's it. Not looking for a major breakthrough. That's probably your postdoc or your work in the future. But even that is actually quite hard. Now, of course, in some places they expect you to finish in 3 years. And I have seen a lot of friends end up spending 4, 5, 6 years. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. I was told that actually for arts, for humanities subject, could be longer even. I don't know. But so 3 years minimum, the reality is usually more than 3 years. Now, I was a little bit fortunate. I finished my PhD 3 years and 3 months. But remember, I have worked in a company in similar field for 2 years. I mean, it gave me a lot of good foundation of all the technical knowledge and tools and methodology. So maybe that helped a lot, actually. So that's what the PhD is about. Push the knowledge, push the frontier of knowledge just a little bit more. But it does mean you have to think of something completely original, something new. Nobody have actually done before. So you push the boundary a little bit. And you probably have seen this picture, no? I don't know why in Chinese we call PhD boxy. That's totally the reverse, because you start to know a lot about again, you know a lot about a very narrow versus when you are undergraduate, you learn a lot about a lot of things. PhD, you start to drill into this one field, one narrow area, and you seem to know a lot. Don't overdo it, because overdo it, then you actually know nothing about, you know a lot about nothing. So if you overdo it, right? Yeah, if you hit the x-axis, you know a lot about nothing, which is actually also quite true. So remember, PhD is actually getting narrower and narrower. I don't know why it's called boxy. I don't know, what other name should it be called? A more appropriate one, right? Not wide, right? Boxy. Okay, so that was my research. I don't know why. I don't know. Don't ask me to explain it. I cannot explain it today. It has a lot of numbers and formulas. And the topic was blind signal separation. I can tell you very quickly, blind signal separation is when you have a lot of different signals mixed together, like in a cocktail party, someone singing, talking, music playing, and walking around. And if you can gather these mixed signals, if you can then separate out each of the source of sound, that's blind signal separation. So not knowing, was it music, was it someone talking, was it, not knowing what the source, nature of the source. So that's why blind, know nothing about the original source. And if you can separate out the mixed signal, that is blind signal separation. That was my topic. So I did something nobody have done before, and I ran an experiment to verify my, and they confirmed. So yes, I did something. I'm also glad to see someone is and now making some commercial use. Like if you have Alexa, with Amazon, have Echo, with Google, right? If you can pre-process all the sound and only pick out your sound, isolating all the different noise and things, then it can improve the quality of Siri, of Google Assistant or Alexa, because now they can isolate all the noises from your voice. So that would be an application of blind signal separation. I've seen someone using my research to do that. And I thought, okay, that's good. So I did something useful, not only breakthrough knowledge, but actually someone was able to apply it in some real world. Now, so if you are an undergraduate or master's student, when you finish your degree, bachelor or master, congratulations, you just finished one stage of your life. But you know what? There's another stage that just began, right? If you are going to work, that is jumping from a student to become an employee or staff. Your corporate race begin. So probably you start with, like, I don't know, management trainee or analyst or whatever. And probably a year or two later, you get promoted. So you become what? Senior assistant manager or associate, or if you go to government EO2, or I don't know what they call. Yeah, and then a few more years, whoa, keep progressing. But if you are a PhD student, then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years later, you're still here. You have not even joined the corporate race. You have not even started. You're still at the beginning. And if you print your name card, right? Yeah, the name card is going to be PhD candidate. You don't put which year, of course. When I download from internet, I just thought it's funny that I just say Cambridge PhD name card, and they have a Sir Isaac Newton. He was at Trinity like 300 years ago, of course. I'm sure they didn't have email at that time. But think about your friends, your classmate who didn't do PhD, who then went on to the corporate race, and every time when you see them in reunion, they give you a new name card, and the title just keep getting bigger. We see someone crying here, so shh, cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. No, it's okay, it's okay. Oh, how do you feel about that? You see these friends, and then they start telling you that they got a car, they put a down payment on their house, and then you just, wow, great. And then they ask you for a new card. No, the card is good. The one I gave you 4 years ago is still good. Well, it's a reality. This is what you will see. When you do a PhD, you start doing this. And so, things that don't ever talk to PhD students, right? Let's check this. When will you graduate? Let's talk about something else, right? Okay. Are you writing your thesis? No. How is your research going? Did your paper get published? Yeah, half. What year are you again? What year? How long have you? Oh, do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? No, don't ever ask a PhD student any of these questions. But it's okay. You're going to be on the other side. So you're going to be asked by someone if you do a PhD. Okay. Now, no, seriously, there are good things about this. Yes, there's always good thing, two sides of the coin, right? Okay, a title is for you, is for life. No one can take away from you, yeah. At first, I felt a little bit strange when people call me Dr. Chen. It just doesn't feel quite right. I just call me Dominic. Oh, now even stranger when people call me Professor Chen. I thought, no, just call me Dominic. By the way, if you go through the UK system, it's lecturer, senior lecturer, reader, and then professor. Only a real professor you get called professor. If you are lecturer, senior lecturer, reader, we only call you doctor so and so. But in Hong Kong, we start calling everybody professor. And it just feels like it's pretty inflated. So I'm an associate professor. So I'm not a professor in that sense. Oh well, it's okay. Now, if you like me, if you enjoy student life, it's great. I mean, spend a few more years. Yeah, but when you spend 3 more years, it's fun. But when you spend 6 more years, that's not fun. Okay, 3 more years, but I end up having 3-year undergraduate, 2-year working, and 3-year in Cambridge. 8 years, that's great. If you are passionate about your subject, what's the problem with spending more time, right? I mean, it's great to work on something that you are passionate about. And at the end of the day, you do feel a sense of achievement. You've done something that no one else has done before, even though nobody else knows about it, apart from your supervisor and the examiner. Only 3 people know about your and then you put it in the library, and then it gets buried in the library, right? But still, you feel happy about. And well, that's the emotional reason, right? But the rational reason is, hopefully you have developed some skills, transferable. Hopefully these will be still useful for the rest of your life. Problem solving, communication, and so on. I'll show you what I did afterward. I mean, you already know I went to McKinsey, right? So these are actually good skills to have. And in some cases, actually, nowadays we talk about qualification inflation. So you have a bachelor degree, so what? So everybody else has a bachelor degree. Oh, you have a master's degree? Whoa, it's getting also very competitive. You see many people with a master's degree nowadays as well. So maybe, as the trend continues, with a PhD, that would be a little bit different. Maybe it helps in terms of like your career aspect. So, well, now, of course, then after that, you would have to start thinking, finding your first post-PhD job. I found this on internet. I thought, the first rule of the PhD job market is do not ask about the PhD job market. I like that a lot. I didn't invent it. I found this on internet when I prepared this talk. So now the problem is, if you have a PhD, now you are overqualified for most jobs. And guess what? You are underexperienced. So you are overqualified, and then you have 0 experience. Doesn't sound good, right? If you're going to find a job. And okay, what about postdoc, right? That seems to be like that's the natural way of doing it, right? Because now you have PhD, then postdoc. Well, as you can tell from you can ask around, right? Usually the postdoc contract are short term, a few months, because they have funding only for a few months. Maybe you are lucky they get a funding for 2 years. 2 years is like a big Christmas present. Wow, 2-year contract. But guess what? It's not in the place that you want. It's somewhere else. You have to move around. So it's very often to see postdoc running around in different cities and different places just because they would have to follow the money, follow the funding. I don't know a lot about Hong Kong for that matter, but if you are overseas, that's very common. Move around in different cities. And guess what? Not only location is uncertain, you don't even know when you get the next contract. And you're constantly looking for the next contract. So that's the reality for, it's true for a lot of PhD students. And then, this is it's really bad. When you go for a job interview, you run into, what? You are a PhD student, you have friends from undergraduate, especially like in Cambridge, you know everybody from Hong Kong. So well, you're going for the same job, and this is a person who's 3 to 4 years younger than you, an undergraduate. You are competing with the same job because you are overqualified, remember, underexperienced. So you're going for the same job. If that is not embarrassing enough, guess what? The interviewer is your classmate. The interviewer is actually your classmate. Well, no. Oh, even worse, if the interviewer, not only your classmate, but was your love rival. Wow, I haven't thought of that. That would be really embarrassing. Okay, well, no. How about your ex-girlfriend? Your interviewer is your ex-girlfriend from university. Whoa. So that's the reality. If you go outside academic, that's probably you will into these people at your interview. Okay, so it's not all bad. I mean, come on, it's not all bad. So I went to McKinsey, management consulting firm. Now, this is, apart from continuing in academic, which will highly, highly value your knowledge and skills and so on, that will be one natural path. Going to consulting, just so happened McKinsey really treasure your experience. So they do treat PhD graduate a little bit different than the undergraduate. We go through a different path. I won't bore you with a long story how I end up doing, because I was not thinking. It's just like I wasn't thinking going to Cambridge. I wasn't thinking going to McKinsey. I ended up going both. But it's a little bit by accident. Okay, maybe I'll do share quickly. A senior alumni of mine, Zhang Jiyan, he's hugely successful. He was in Cambridge, PhD and undergrad. And then so he came back to Cambridge for vacation in Christmas. And he said, hey, do you want to go to McKinsey? I thought, what is that? He was already there. Then I said, no idea. So, okay, would you like to put your name down for this free lunch in Garden House Hotel, which is the best hotel in Cambridge? And for undergraduate, wow, going to the best hotel in Cambridge is like, whoa, okay. Yes, sign me up. So I went there. I wasn't going to be to apply. So there are 3 types of people going to lunch like this when a company comes to a hotel on the campus. Number 1 are those who are really serious about going to McKinsey. Number 2 are those who are like me, not really serious, but I respect the host, so I would dress smartly, but no tie, no jacket. Oh, but the one who are serious are really tie and suit and things, right? Then the 3rd type were the free rider there for the free lunch. And those who don't even respect the host, they really just whatever and then just go and eat the food. Now, and when it comes to sit down at lunch, right, there are 3 different sitting areas. Number 1, who want to sit right next to the partners from the McKinsey. Well, I don't mind because I'm not nervous at all. So I actually sat right next to the guy. And I asked him what McKinsey does. So, but then the second area are those who are very serious, but they're under a lot of pressure. They don't want to sit right next to the partner. They just might say the wrong thing. So they will sit like enough to, close enough to make a conversation, but far enough to just eat and not pretending to be, don't look at me and things like that. And then for those who are the free rider for the free lunch, they sat on the end of the table. No, seriously, this is how it's done. So I ended up applying just for fun because I thought, wow, if I was going to do a PhD, if I was going to do a postdoc, I better get some job interview experience. A low-risk way to get the job interview experience. And somehow I got in. And so I guess because I was not nervous at all, I went for the interview. It was tough, but then doesn't matter. I wasn't serious about it, so doesn't matter. And so I actually end up pretty relaxed about it. And so apparently I did okay. Then I got the offer. Now this is my girlfriend at that time, not my wife. My girlfriend at that time, she really hated corporation like this. It's the enemy of the good. I mean, okay, I would say it loud. These are evil company. Yeah. She didn't like any. She ended up doing a NGO, and you can see we're way half a globe apart now. But so she really hated it when I got the offer because I was seriously thinking about it. And then I actually told my supervisor, I said I was going to go back to Hong Kong to be a consultant, a management consultant. And then my professor said, you joined the dark side. You joined the dark side. Yeah, you know, postdoc, academic, pure and innocent and good. You know, consultant, iBanker, evil. You know, destroy the world. So, but what he didn't know was how powerful is the dark side. If you only knew the power of the dark side, that's your answer. It was 6 times more powerful than the light side. Based on the salary I was going to get for postdoc, and based on the salary I was going to get from McKinsey before bonus. Before bonus, I was going to get. And I was in my lab, I was looking at the postdoc. I was looking at my professor. I knew my professor wasn't making that much. No, but remember, I think in academic, it's very. So if I see my professor now, I have turned back. I turned back. Darth Vader didn't turn completely. I turned back to the light side. See, I'm now teaching at university, right? So I didn't turn completely, but it was very tempting, and I was tempted. In fact, yeah. So I temporarily went to the dark side. So and then after 1 year, so my then girlfriend actually also came back to Hong Kong. After 1 year, I got a raise. Sorry, how much time do I have? Oh, sorry, I'm already overrunning. Okay. Just finish this story. Yeah. So the first year when I got my pay rise, it was more than my girlfriend's annual salary. So the pay rise was more than her annual salary. So let me just go through a few more things. One last thing about. And then later on, I become a slasher. So I'm telling you, a consulting career starting point, and I end up being a slasher, which is what a lot of young generation love to do these days. Meaning, we do a lot of things. We don't do one thing. It's not a one career. It's a portfolio of career. I think this is the way that nowadays people like to work. So I end up being a professor of management consulting, corporate training, angel investor, and a writer. Now, I know I run out of time, so my very last slide, I'm going to skip over all this. It's this one. So if you're going to do research, I wish you research in peace. So do we have time for questions? I don't know. I already overrun. Because I skipped a few. You probably wonder whether I put a rabbit, but no. So how much time we have for question? Okay, three questions. So yes, Zania. Well, actually, most PhD research probably don't end up being commercialized. I don't know. I don't have the numbers, but my gut feel is most of them not ending up being commercialized. But the thing is, but the PhD students who later graduate, they learn a lot through the process. They do end up in a lot of interesting technical company. I have a few friends who become billionaire. I should have joined them instead of coming back to. Actually, yeah, they didn't tell me the other dark side. The tech startup was also more powerful. But anyway, so no, but I think not many of the research end up being really useful in the real. Maybe it's a matter of time, actually. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Having said that, the dark side is so tempting. So what drove you back to the light side, and how do you think you're going to stay? What motivates that?
Well, you see, I'm still a consultant, so I turn. So I'm still one foot in the dark side and then one foot in the light side. Now the funny thing is, if you think about it, right, if a professor who have been always been a professor suddenly go to run a business, people say, "Wow, this guy turned good. They shouldn't be doing business." But you see a businessman, later on when they say, "Wow, I would like to give back to the society, so I will become a professor to teach people business." Wow, that's a saint, right? It's so unfair, right? It's so unfair. So, but then now, so I went to the dark side, and then now come back, and they will say, "Yeah, that's great. This guy is turning back."
But how dark do you think it actually is? Like
no, this is just joking. Just joking. It's not. It's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah. I brought light to the dark side.
Oh wow, thank you, thank you.
See, no, it's up to you. Up to you. No, no. I mean, actually, at 6:15, I'm going to give another talk with the Joint University Career Talk on Management Consulting, and I'm trying to encourage them to join the dark side. So it must be a good side to be on. Okay. So, oh, sorry. We have two hands and. During the PhD journey, what PhD student? The hardest question. During your entire life? That's a very deep question. No, it's a good one because I will say, first I will make a quote and then I will try to answer your question. By the way, if you make easy choices, you're going to get a hard life. But if you make hard choices, you're going to have an easy life. So I would encourage you, if you don't avoid the hard choices, always head on, take on all the hard choices. So hard questions. I have to ask myself, should I stay in Cambridge or should I come back to Hong Kong? That was another hard question. Coming back to Hong Kong in '97 was a very interesting question as well. I came before the handover. So those I really thought long and hard. Whether should I come back to work for McKinsey? I came back in January. Oh, it was 6 months before the handover. Was that a wise choice? Should I wait for another year? Yeah. Otherwise, the other choices in life would be when should you have kids? I'm not young, and then my son is only 4 years old. Family decision, those are also tough ones, but more personal, however. Yeah. Maybe one last question and then.
Hi. So you briefly talked about having a portfolio career, and your own portfolio seemed kind of like interrelated, but then again quite different.
Yes.
So I was wondering, what sort of challenges did you face when you were, quote unquote, jumping different professions?
Actually, I'm not jumping. In fact, I'm embracing them all at the same time. Now, I will tell you one thing that I really make a good decision was 2006, where I become a freelancer. From having a job to become an independent professional, and that was 2006. And so from then on, because I was an independent, I basically am my own boss. So I can use my skills in different area to, if you can make money using any kind of your skill. If you think about it, if you work in a company, is only using one set of skills that is perfect to the company. But maybe you can sing, maybe you can play piano, maybe you can do other things. Those are your hobbies. Think about if you can turn every skill that you're good at into a career, part career. Why not? So a job is very limiting in that sense. And so I was glad that I make that decision to become an independent professional. There's a history about why I make that jump. That was a good decision. And from then on, it expanded my horizon to become a lot more other things. Maybe if you allow me, one last concept that I will show you is this picture. Oops, no, going the other way. This one. And then quickly. Think about this for your life, right? 4 different circles. The first one, sorry, let's go back. Okay. First one is what you love to do, something that you love to do. The other one is something that you are actually good at doing. So love to do, good at doing. And then what the world needs. And finally, something that you can get paid. So think about this. If you have something that falls within all 4 circles, congratulations. Some people, even throughout their life have never found the spot where 4 circles overlap. I found my ikigai, which is right in the middle, for me, is education, for sure. This is why I go back to academic, because I finally realized education is what I love to do, I think I'm good at. The world needs education and I get paid. So hopefully you will find your well, I think I'm really running out of time now. Okay, so I'll hand it back to.
We thank Professor Dominic Chan again for the lively talk.